Good evening, and you're very welcome to the Waterbreak, sponsored by Kerry, your natural escape, Kerry Tourism. And it's August, and we're back indoors after a couple of weeks out doing draws and planning for football. We look ahead to our show this evening, which is a little bit slimmed down more than usual. But if you're a hurling fan, stay with us. If you like ladies football, and we've got something quite special for you in the second half of the show as we travelled out to Milltown Castlemaine on Monday night for what you will really enjoy. A great segment coming up. But first, it's hurling, and of course, we are now at the latter end of the Garvey Supervalu Senior Hurling Championship, and we round up last weekend's games.
St Brendan's Arfort advanced to the quarter-finals following a 2-point win over Ballyduff. It was a frantic opening. Aidan Boyle had earlier grabbed a Ballyduff goal, but this Shawnee Brosnan goal held Brendan's to a 2-point lead. Ballyduff only managed 1 point before the water break. Padraig Boyle strong from frees. Huzzy grabbed 4 points during that spell, putting his side 3 ahead by the water break. Huzzy and Boyle were prolific in the second half and added late points in the half, leaving the score 2-10 to 1-6 at the interval. Huzzy and Brosnan ensured a 6-point lead on the 40-minute mark, despite another Boyle pointed free. Ballyduff scores by Kyle O'Connor, Padraig and Michael Boyle made it a 2-point game deep in added time, but St Brendan's held on for the victory.
Right, you ready, Sam? Perfect.
Yeah.
Tom, tough win tonight for you. You managed to get through in the end, 2 points against a very tough Ballyduff team. Can you put into words what it's like, not only for you as a manager, but for Ardfort as a club to get the win here?
It's huge. Look, I suppose last year didn't go our way. First game this year didn't go our way. So, like, you don't want to be going 2 years without a win in the championship. So, look, it was a big win for the club in general, and for the parish and the community, you know.
Would you have considered yourselves underdogs when the draw was made for the group with the likes of Causeway and Ballyduff, who are hurling hotbeds, I suppose, in Kerry throughout the years?
I suppose, I suppose you have to beat them all anyway, regardless of if you have any ambition. But it was a very tough group. So, look, we're thrilled to get out of it now, and hopefully we'll progress to the next phase of it.
And obviously, I guess as a manager, it's easy when you have a player of Keane Huzzy's ability in the forward line. I think it was 14 or 15 points from. You must be thrilled to have that scoring input coming from him.
Oh yeah,
game.
Absolutely. Look, he's a serious forward. Look, he wouldn't be out of place in any team down around Limerick or Cork or Tipperary. Like, he's great movement, and once we give him in any type of quality of ball, he's usually fairly accurate, putting the ball between the posts, you know.
Yeah, and I suppose one of the big talking points was just before the half, Owen Ross getting sent off. Do you think that changed the momentum slightly? Do you think Ballyduff were coming back into it, or when you had the extra man, you were able to make use of it?
Well, I suppose, look, at the time, I did think that Ballyduff were putting a bit of pressure on us. I didn't really see the incident. I just heard it all right that it was a bang to the head, so I'm not really sure what exactly happened. But it took us a while with the extra man to find our shape again. We kind of lost our way for a few minutes. We settled down, then we got a few scores, and then obviously at the start of the second half, Ballyduff came at us again and really put a big push on with the breeze. And again, we lost our shape even with the extra man. But I think the water break came at a good time for us, and we kind of settled down and got a bit of shape, got a few scores. But yet the last 3 or 4 minutes, Ballyduff, the team that they are, they drove on at us.
And is it just going to be straight back to training now, a quick turnaround? I imagine it's probably
turnaround.
Next weekend we'll see you play on again.
It's next weekend now, yeah. So we'll see how the draw goes. I think it's on Sunday evening or Sunday afternoon. So we'll see who we meet, and we'll focus on that for next weekend.
Three late points by Shane Nolan was enough to salvage a late draw for Crotta and help them to top the table in Group 3. A first half goal by Michael Slattery had Abbeydorney 1-9 to 5 points up at the half-time interval. But a resurgence from Crotta in the second half was enough to lead them top of Group 3 by score difference. The side in green and red were on a roll in the second half, hitting 5 points in a 10-minute spell, with Tomás O'Connor and 4 Nolan frees. Keith O'Connor managed to get the first second half Abbeydorney score in the 45th minute. Wides were a major issue for Crotta all game, as both sides did miss scoreable opportunities throughout the tie. Neither could find that last-minute magic as they played out a hard-earned draw.
Paul, a hard-earned draw today. Are you happy with the result? It means that you've topped the group thanks to the scoring difference from the Crokes game. So you're either into semi-final now or quarter-final tomorrow. But what are your thoughts after today?
Yeah, it was a tough battle. We knew what we were going to get from Abbeydorney. They're our near neighbours, and there's really never an inch or a puck in the game. And we knew that they were going to try and close us down, and that's exactly how we thought the game would go.
It was nip and tuck at the start until the first water break in the first half, and then Abbeydorney kind of came into their own until the end of the first half, and they got the goal from Michael Slattery. And then you kind of came out in the second half. Was it, I suppose, words at half time, just words of encouragement that, lads, we have a chance here at the semi-final if we kind of pull your socks up and go for it?
Yeah, I believe there that in that second quarter, in the first half, that we didn't score. We had 5 points coming into it. We had 5 points at half time, and Abbeydorney, I suppose, hit a purple patch then. But we rallied the lads at half time, and we told them that that they had to up their effort, and we needed more effort from everybody on the field. And in fairness to the lads, they did that, but they worked very, very hard.
And obviously, Shane Nolan is the captain. He's the influence there, getting those 3 frees late on. It's great to have him to be able to put those dead ball situations over the bar.
Yeah, I suppose Shane, look, he's an experienced man. He has played a lot of it, and he has had these situations going back over the years, to tie games or to try and give us the lead in that. So he's a great man at that.
So as I've said, it looks like you have a chance at a semi-final. Would you be happier to go through the quarter-final route or to get the buy-in just to look forward to the semi-final?
I suppose, look, we haven't been in a semi-final for so long. We'd like to come out of the hat and go into the semi-final, and we'd prepare then for the number of weeks that are there. We'd prepare well for it and hopefully be ready.
Against your your neighbours over in Crotta, are you happy with the result? I know it doesn't get you through topping the group, but you're into the quarter-final stage now, so you must be happy with that.
Well, we're not happy with the result because I thought for the performance on the day, like against our neighbours on the other side of our parish, we were hoping coming in here today that we toppled them. We were very disappointed with our performance against the Crokes, and I suppose I think as you said there, the performance was very important for us. The result is the result. We'd have loved if we had come out by a point or two. I suppose things were looking good at half time. We had played with the win there, and we created a few chances maybe in the second half, maybe a little pass here and a pass there. We may have opened them again, but it didn't happen today. But look, we're in the quarter-final next weekend. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, as you mentioned there, the first half performance, you were flying it after the first water break. You came out and Crotta were just they didn't know how to deal with your attack, and then obviously Michael Slattery getting the goal. I guess just before any goal before the break is obviously going to be important for you.
Vital for us, and we probably, I think, for the first part of the second half, first part of the second half, we had another chance there, a little bit of a slip pass, and he may have been through for a second one, but it didn't happen. But there are little things we have to work in the training field, and it's a team game. Once the forwards play as a unit, as they kind of did in the first half, we got through for those scores. I suppose, look, all in all, we were accurate with the frees. They missed a few frees. We had a few wides there in the second half. They'll say they had wides. The wind, while along the side, and you wouldn't think it was such a factor. But when you're out here now in the centre of the field, that wind was a disaster. I had a bearing in the game as well. But look, overall, while we aren't delighted, we're happy that we did the performance. idea. If they follow the advice now, they'll rest, they'll grow up well, and they'll be ready for training on Monday night. But I don't know, they'll always do what they're told to do. That's the ambition anyway. With the help of God, they'll be ready for battle.
Strong second half comeback from Kilmiley saw them come out 9-point winners over Lixnaw in Group 2. Lixnaw's strong start helped them to a 4 points to no score lead on 9 minutes. Despite a Kilmiley comeback, Jack Brosnan and Shane Conway restored a 4-point gap. Daniel Collins was on form again during the tie. He added 3 frees into a stiff breeze during the opening quarter. Both sides were giving their all during the opening half hour. William Costello finished a fine Lixnaw attack before Jordan Brick added a score for Kilmiley. Little separated the teams, and although John Buckley grabbed a Lixnaw goal, this game would turn on the restart. With the breeze now to their backs, Kilmiley were a different outfit in the second half. The side scoring 6 points early in the second half, as Lixnaw failed to register a score until the 41st minute, as Shane Conway converted from a free. Dare Nolan helped put more breathing space between the two sides as he rose the green flag in the 46th minute. The forward the quickest to react to the ball after Aidan Royal hit the post from an effort, the Kilmiley man flicked the ball into the net. Matthew Flaherty got the game's final score deep into added time to ensure that Kilmiley had 9 to spare at the full-time whistle.
Morrissey finished with a flurry in the end. You managed to get there. It was a slow enough start to the game, and then when it got to the second half, you managed to fly home with the win. You must be happy with the result. It's the same.
Yeah, we're happy with the result in the end, but we felt ourselves at the first half we were very flat, and it took us a long time to get to the pitch of the game. The Lixnaw seemed to, we were playing with the wind, but still we felt we were just off the pace in the first half, and then to come the second half, we got the first 2 scores there, and we kicked on from there.
Was there a few words at half time just to say, lads, you need to kick on? It was winner takes all really to top the group, between the two of you. So was there just, play lads as if it's a championship semi-final or a quarter-final pretty much?
Yeah, so the lads themselves knew that they didn't have a good first half, so you just kind of have to say, lads, we're better than we're playing, and once we got going in the second half, Donald Caney got a great point there, and the lads really kicked on from that.
The wind did look like it was causing a few problems in the first half. Obviously in the second half you must have just said, look, the wind is to our backs now, and just go for it and come home with a flurry.
Yes, if you can stop the supply a ball going up to Shane Conway and like that, you're a long ways there and winning your game.
Obviously the draw has been made now for the next round. You'll have a rest period now, and you'll be looking forward, I suppose, to the quarterfinals, which will be here next weekend, and then obviously you're into the semi-finals, and Causeway are on the other side, so you might end up meeting them again, same as last year's final.
Yeah, you never know. So look, you just have to beat who comes next in the semi-final, and that's all we can worry about. Not by worrying about cause or any other team. You can only worry about who you have to play next. That's all.
And that, of course, is Lixnaw's joint manager Maurice Murnane. Joining us now, of course, is the man who spent all weekend in Austin Stack Park. Did you get home at all there? Did you?
No, a few late overnights there, but they're very accommodating in Stack Park anyway, so I was happy out inside that.
So enough of the hurling. Come here, I suppose we talk through the 3 games that you were at first of all, and then we might look maybe at the quarter-final draw, and we might have a look at who's prospective winners at this stage. St. Brendan's, Somewhat of a surprising result, maybe more surprising that Ballyduff didn't get out of the group, possibly, or would that be unfair on how good St Brennan's were?
I suppose it'd be a bit of both, Donal. Like, I suppose when the draw was made at the earlier on, you would have thought it was Causeway and Ballyduff getting out of the group. I was at the game the previous weekend where Causeway and Ballyduff played, and judging by that result, you'd have thought these look like the two teams that are going to advance from the group. Ballyduff played very well against Causeway, fought hard till the end, and St Brendan's hadn't played as well as they would have hoped against Causeway in the first game. So from that perspective, it looked fairly mixed. Like, I suppose you don't know what you're going to get out of either team until a puck of a ball is played. But St Brendan's, to their credit, did play well, and to have 14 men on the opposition is always a good sign for you, especially when you have a good half as well. On top of that, Owen Ross, of course, getting sent off for the second game in a row, which cost Ballyduff as well. But they come down to 2 points. Ballyduff are a team in transition. Obviously, they made it to the semi-finals last year in the championship, and this year it's very surprising to see Ballyduff not make it into even the quarterfinals. It's a strange one, but to be fair, to credit St Brendan, played well. They were a dominant team, and if a late Mike Boyle point had gone into the net, maybe it could have been a different story. If they maybe had taken their chances, we could have seen a different result. But it has to be a credit to St Brendan's on the night. They were fantastic.
Yeah, and Tom Maloney, of course, was delighted after. Speak to me about Cian Huzzy. I mean, Cian Huzzy kind of arrived back this year. He went into the Kerry team. I mean, Fintan O'Connor put an awful lot of faith, which was repaid by Cian. But he certainly looks a quality player inside the St Brennan's outfit. 14 points, I think, the last day.
Yeah, he's a fantastic player. Be it from the freeze, be it from play, just his general play, not even just his scoring. Obviously, he's a forward, so his job really is to put the ball over the bar at the end of the day or into the net, or to get the scores for them. But have him as a distributor for other players, and then you have someone like Fionn Mackesy who's playing. He's down on the program as a centre half back, but he was playing more of a centre half forward or midfield at times for them. The way his play from defence to attack was just outstanding. When Ballyduff were going down on goal, he was there, and when they were going up the other end, he was there as well. He had the pace and the natural ability to last the full game. He was phenomenal. But even as I spoke to Tom after the game, like, to have a player of the quality of Cian Huzzy, he's definitely put faith in him for the right reason. He is arguably one of the best forwards in the county at the moment.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. I suppose the second game, of course, if there was an awful lot of scores going in the first game, Abbey-Dorney and Crossa, a somewhat more cagey affair. I suppose the wind conditions might have infected it a bit as well. Crossa not as free-flowing certainly as they were against Crokes. Was the draw somewhat a surprising result, or was it a game that Abbey-Dorney maybe should have got all 2 points?
I suppose it was a game that either team could have won on the day. It was kind of that game where maybe a draw was a fair result, so that either team got something. Obviously, both teams have ended up in the quarterfinals anyway, so the result really didn't matter on the night. So I guess it's kind of Abbey-Dorney had the chances to win it, and so did Crossa. Crossa came back obviously late. Shane Nolan, of course. Shane Nolan has been around with years, and he's been an institution for Crossa, and they ended up putting him into the full forward line toward the end of the game, and that's what pretty much digged them out of the whole relay to have him inside there. He scored a fantastic lay point, just turning his back to goal, and then just didn't even see the post, turned around and it went over. It's like he just knew where to put it when he was aiming. But I guess it was one of those games where I suppose both teams didn't put in a performance. Obviously, you heard the interview with Tomas just before, so he wasn't happy. You could tell he wasn't happy. You could tell, it was just like, we could have won that game and we could have got into semi-final, and there would have been back-to-back semi-finals for them. And Crossa hadn't been in a semi-final for the last number of years, so I suppose it was a game that both sides wanted to win, but neither could get the result on the day.
Mm-hmm. I suppose the draw, as you said, both teams had progressed anyway into the draw. Kilmiley, of course, rounded out, I suppose, a fantastic win in the end against Lixna. Somewhat easier than maybe people would have thought.
Yeah, at the halftime whistle, you would have thought, this is a tough game. Obviously, Lixna had the win going into the first half, and they made use of it.
But that performance by Kilmiley in the second half definitely deserves the label of a championship team coming back into it. You know, they are the defending champions from last year, and it showed when you have, you know, the ability. You know, someone like Morris O'Connor wasn't even playing, and you know, he was star for them last year, and you know, they have a really strong bench, and to have a pool of players to pick from, the likes of Flora McCarthy, who came up from the back and scored a fantastic point, and pace to run down the sideline. You know, I suppose Lixnaw might be in a little bit of a transitional period at the moment, but you know, they still have the likes of Shane Conway inside there, who was another phenomenal player again at the weekend, and someone who we've seen play for both club and county at the highest level at the moment. And you know, it was a game that it did look fairly tight, but during the first 15 minutes of the second half, Kilmiley absolutely were rampant.
Yeah, absolutely. Kilmiley really, and I suppose in fairness, they admitted themselves were very flat in the first half, or they were a bit off the pace, and they certainly showed championship pace. I suppose looking at the championship, 9 teams started out, 3 are gone now. Ballyduff, of course, didn't get out of Group 1. Ballyhigh didn't get out of the group with Kilmiley and Lixnaw. They certainly had 2 maybe half decent performances, even if they didn't have the full hour in them, but it's certainly a side that are kind of maybe going in the right direction if they are a small bit behind at the moment.
Yeah, you know, I suppose Ballyhigh have brought up a lot of young players over the last number of years, and even currently at minor level, they have a few players that would definitely make the step up to the senior team, maybe not next year or the year after. They're kind of I suppose they are building for the future, and they do have those players, especially Nathan Guerin in the full forward line, absolutely fantastic talent. And when you do see, you know, they did have 2 fairly good performances. Obviously, they're not going to get a win in the championship this year, but they do have, I suppose, the building blocks for the future. But you know, I suppose that group was fairly tough for them as well. The championship was tough for them last year, but you know, I suppose they have to look at the future. They do have a good few players inside there that are still, you know, older players are still inside there. They do have younger talent coming up. So maybe in a couple of years, Ballyhigh will probably be a team to watch again.
Yeah. And they are actually one of the few North Kerry teams that are producing good minors. You know, I mean, one of these days they will be senior level and get to that. And so, in fairness, I think, you know, they were fairly decent against Lixnaw. You know, they were winning that game for long stages. Kilmiley was probably a big test to them, but you know, they put up a decent score against Kilmiley as well. The other team, of course, that didn't make it out of the group was Dr. Crokes in Group 3. They were in the Cross and Abbeydorney group, and I suppose it's kind of unusual because they really had Abbeydorney on the rack in that game where they could have pinched a win or certainly maybe a draw. And then it was kind of unusual because I suppose Cross really kind of showed how good a senior team they were compared to when they gave them a bit of a trouncing maybe. But then Abbeydorney and Crotta drawing the whole maths of the situation doesn't really link up. So Crokes probably not too far off it, even though maybe a tough enough first season as senior.
Yeah, you know, I suppose the group has thrown up a few strange results this year. You know, when you look at it and you're looking at the different scores and you're like, it looks a bit strange. Not to credit Dr. Crokes, it is their first year as a senior hurling club, and I suppose if someone from an outside perspective looks in and they see Crokes playing hurling, they might see like the traditional names, and then you see Dr. Crokes. But to be fair, obviously, you know, they didn't make it out of the group this year, but they have given themselves a good pat in the back for the future for hurling and to build hurling in the club and everything to be a senior team now and to have a very good result against Abbeydorney. They could have won that game. I think Abbeydorney would say that they played poor. Crokes would probably say they played poor as well. And then, I mean, the game against Crotta was a wet, stormy day. I'd say it might have suited Crotta a bit more experience showing there. But you know, to credit Dr. Crokes, they have been a fantastic addition to the championship this year. It's nice to see a new club coming in, and you know, they shouldn't feel hard done by anyway, for sure.
No, absolutely, and I think they have plenty to build on for next year as well. Now, looking ahead, I suppose the draw was made afterwards, Dermot. I suppose an unusual enough kind of draw. The 3 teams topped the group, with only 2 of those teams ended up in the semi-final. The 3rd team losing out and ending back in the quarterfinals. So who were the quarterfinal lineups, Dermot?
So we're going to see a repeat of a quarterfinal from last year in Abbeydorney and Lixnaw, and then we're also going to see St. Brendan's against Crotta. So it's going to be definitely an entertaining Weekend hurling, obviously Crotta and Brennan's are going to be playing at 2:00 on Saturday, and then the other game is going to be at 7:00 that evening. So it's going to be a an entertaining task. Abbey Dorney pinched Lixna last year. I think Abbey Dorney were the fairy tale story from the championship last year. It was a fantastic game. I remember being at it in Ostside Park, and it was a fantastic game of hurling. I think everyone was shocked that Joe Lixna, who had been thereabouts for the last number of years, were beaten by an Abbey Dorney team who hadn't tested at a semi-final or a final level for the last number of years. And everyone thought they were going to do it against Kilmiley in the semi-final, but Kilmiley, to their credit, came through in the end. And then Crotta and St. Brendan's both went out again last year. They weren't as competitive as they would have hoped. I know Tom Maloney was on about that as well. He was devastated after the opening round game last year. They lost to Kilmiley. I suppose when the championship was straight knockout, to come up against Kilmiley in the first round is not a good test for any team, because you're going to be up against it. But it's definitely going to be an interesting weekend. It's whether Kilmiley or Causeway will end up playing one of these teams. Crotta and St. Brendan's both played very well in their groups. Abbey Dorney are thereabouts, and then obviously you have Lixna, who might be in a bit of a transitional period, but you just never know. We thought St. Brendan's were going to be written off during the group stages, and they surprised us all, and Ballyduff ended up not qualifying, so you just never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I suppose the only thing that we know is that you can bring your sleeping bag with you. It's only the 2 games this week, so yeah. You will have plenty of practice. I suppose it might be a bit early just to call, but I suppose there's 6 teams still left. But of the 6 teams left, if you had 10 pence to put on the form side out of all the teams you've seen so far, tentatively, who would you pick?
In terms of an outright winner, it is still hard to call, because, as I said, anything can happen. But from the teams that I've watched closely, I think my money might have to be on Causeway. I do think that last year's defeat in the final did hurt them. They did not play well in the final last year. It was a complete, the start of the game, Kilmiley just dominated. Causeway looked like they didn't know what was going on, that they didn't win it the year prior to that. They were training hard. I was speaking to Stephen before the game and everything, and they were confident, they were gunning for the 2 in a row, and then it just completely fell apart for them. So I think there is scars from last year. Obviously, Kilmiley and Causeway do have that rivalry with each other, neighbouring parishes. I do think, from what I've seen so far, I do think Causeway might have the edge this year over anyone else in the championship.
Well, we just have to wait and see, Dermot. Dermot Carney, of course, thank you very much for joining us. And he keep an eye on the hurling for us again next weekend. Now you're watching the Waterbreak here on Thursday evening, sponsored by Kerry Natural Escape, Kerry Tourism, Kerry County Council, and it is time for us to take a break.
Take your time, it's only me. We got lives to lead. Where we'll go, I do not know. Make it slow, make it slow. Who believes in making dreams? Who believes in life?
We're here in Killarney today to launch Win a House. You can win a house through the Kerry GAA with a simple raffle. We want to sell tickets valued at €100, and I suppose the key thing here is we're all after going through a very, very long year, a tough year through COVID, and we need to fundraise, and teams and local clubs and counties are fundraising in their own general way. And here in Kerry, we are in beautiful Killarney looking out over the lakes. and we're raffling a house down in the middle of Killarney, one of the nicest areas in the whole country, not even in the whole country, but all of Europe. The great thing about Kerry is that not only have we beautiful scenery, we've had great footballers, and I've had great days in the Kerry jersey. And we're all here today to try to help and try to support our young fellas, not only the Kerry senior football teams, not only the inter-county teams, but the young lads that are coming up playing with their clubs at the moment. We want to put in proper facilities for them and ensure that their future is looked after. To do this, we have to become a little bit more imaginative, and we have a house for a draw. Kerry people are all over the world. We're in London, New York, all over Asia, Australia, everywhere. Anybody can take part, and we'll be looking for everybody to contribute in some small way. It's only €100. It's going to go a long way to helping Kerry to stay up with the pace of the modern GA world, and I hope you all do get involved.
And of course is the Kerry J store, an exceptionally busy place over the last couple of days because Kerry J launched a new commemorative jersey. I wonder if you bought it yet. I mean, we took a run in last Monday to have a look, but they were all sold out. So there's some people around the county with them. The jersey, of course, in September 1924, as the hostile atmosphere of the Civil War lingered, the young Kerry side entered Croke Park to contest the county's first All-Ireland in 9 years. It was a team that formed from players who had been active on both sides of that tragic conflict in a county where war's final weeks were framed by horrifying atrocities. Though deeply divided by ideology, men like John Joe Sheehy, Con Brosnan, Joe Barrett and Paul Russell backbone the side who would dominate Gaelic football like none before or after for decades to come. In the process, they faced a unique legacy. Now united by the Kerry jersey, this team symbolised many parts of the great game by healing the wounds and reconcile a society. Now, the jersey, of course, was launched last week by David Clifford, Colin Cooper and Mikey Sheehy, three absolute legends of the game, one still probably becoming a better legend again. And it's a fantastic jersey. As you can see up there, if you don't have it, it's available, of course, on O'Neill's online, and it's also available in the Kerry J store, and maybe why not pop in there to have a look for it. And it's, it's a very special jersey, and of course, it's like everything, it's one of these commemorative jerseys that will be probably in people's wardrobes for years and years to come. And of course, we get plenty of chance to wear it for the next couple of games as well, come to Tyrone. Now, a team that were out last weekend on a very, very quiet week for teams being out for the Kerry team were the Kerry Senior Ladies, and they were playing their relegation playoff against Tipperary. And after the game, which they won, Jerome Quinn caught up with Aislinn Desmond and spoke to the Kerry captain about their victory.
Kerry belong in senior. They've never gone down, and they're not going down this year either.
Aislinn Desmond, relief I suppose in the end that senior status is secured again, but like Kerry have never gone down.
Yeah, no, I suppose we knew that there'd be a big battle here on today, so we're just delighted to come out with the win. Tipperary and Fianna, they're a strong team, and the weather conditions were hard, so we're just grateful, to be honest, to come out with the win and stay in senior status.
What does that mean to Kerry, to stay up again and preserve that tradition there, but also the pride?
Absolutely, there is massive tradition of football in Kerry, especially ladies football, and I suppose pride in ourselves. Like, there was a lot of pressure on us today. I suppose you don't want to be the one Kerry team bringing down into intermediate, so we're just delighted to come out with the win and thankfully sustain senior status.
You wouldn't want that on your record as captain, especially since you'd come back in after Rathmore won the senior championship for the first ever time.
Yeah, that was an amazing experience, I suppose, last year. Yeah, it was fantastic. My father is the manager, so it was extra special. My sister plays as well, and the Rathmore team were really close, so it's really like family orientated, and it was just a fantastic win for the village. especially in COVID times, I suppose everything was like really hard at the time. So it was lovely just to have a bit of like happiness within the like small village, I suppose.
Bounced nicely for O'Donoghue, and she sets off towards goal, and she finds Namarhurta. She gives it back to O'Donoghue. Oh, the deadly duo have done it again. What are they like?
And at the county level, I mean, that was a really good performance today. A lot of pluses around the field, but you weren't close, or you were close rather, to Galway and Donegal recently, so it's not as if you became a bad team.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In fairness, the Kerry team that we have at the moment, like, we have been a bit unfortunate, I suppose. We were close to Donegal, close to Galway, but I suppose at the end of the day we're still not winning those matches, and that's what you need. But in fairness, like, there's great heart and character within the team, and I've no doubt that they'll do very, very well again.
Great experience there. I mean, you started, or were to start, with 5 of the team that played in 2012, but you ended up with Megan coming in. There was actually 6.
Yeah. No, there is fierce experience, and there is such, like, the youth that is coming through are absolutely brilliant, and like they're always pushing for places. There's fierce competition for places within the panel, and like, it's just such a good vibe, and everyone gets on so well. So it's just going well at the moment, to be honest. And it was great to get the win today.
And is that you now going back to club again with Rathmore, trying for 2 in a row?
Yeah, my father said to us, they're the Rathmore girls back training Tuesday night, so there's no rest for the wicked.
And the sub would come on, Danielle O'Leary. She's Rathmore as well, and she was a 2020 minor captain last year in Kerry, so that's the youth you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely, and we actually have 5 Kerry girls with Rathmore, so it's a really strong club, and I suppose just looking forward to getting back playing club football now.
And then, of course, it was Aislinn Desmond captaining her side to victory. 216 7 points. It was quite a good win in the end. They led 2-7 to 4 points at half time, and Hannah Dunho, of course, and Emma Deneen getting the goals. And of course, Louise Marahertig chipping in with her weekly 9 points for the Kerry team. Fantastic forward, fantastic servant. And it's great to see them secure their status. Tough group this year, 2 very close games. You know, they could have got out of it as well. They're not too far off either. Now, another team that are out at the weekend in the quarter-final of the Camogie Championship is Kerry. They're playing Antrim, and they're playing at 3 p.m. in Banagher. And it's a big, big day out for Ian Brick, and we wish them all very best of luck as they try to go one step further than last year. Now, of course, over the course of the weeks that we've been here with you on the Waterbreak, we've always kind of looked at the competitive side of the GA and the teams and the winnings and the championship. But last Monday evening, I went out to Milltown Castlemaine for something a little bit more relaxed, but still a very, very important part of the family of the GA, as we went out and we had a look at the Milltown Castlemaine GA for All, and I hope you enjoyed the segment, because it was one of the rare occasions that I left the field saying, God, this is absolutely fantastic, and I think you will too. So we'll have a look at that now.
My name is Alex. I'm going to do football today, and I'm going to use my extra keep me up.
No way, and you're brilliant to keep you up, so you?
Yes way.
Good stuff. We'll maybe get a ball, and we'll get a ball, will we get going?
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's great, very active. What we have this evening is our GA for All training. So it's our training that we provide here at our club for the children within our community with additional needs. So we'd have 20 children that train with us here. There'll be about 13, 14 children here this evening. And we'd have coaches as well. We'd have about 10 wonderful coaches here this evening as well, helping us out. So we started this earlier this year in May. We had been doing a bit of training throughout the winter, as we had got the idea last year actually from a local soccer club that do football for all as well. And so we decided to go out and see whether there was a GAA equivalent. And I suppose that led us on then to finding out that there was a couple of clubs in Cork, a club in Dublin, the Raheny All-Stars, and then Middleton and Youghal in Cork. And then we met with Garrod from the Kerry Sports and Recreation Partnership here in Kerry, and got a bit of advice on things from them as well, and they were very helpful along the way. And then we started to gather coaches, myself, Gillian, Stephanie and Maria on the organising committee here, and we gathered over a dozen coaches actually. The volunteerism was incredible, really something, and they're all fantastic. We'd have coaches here every week. We'd have over 10-11 coaches helping out. And it's just great. The players themselves, then the real stars, of course, and they've been making huge progress since May.
And I suppose it's a programme that can be easily rolled out within an awful lot of other GA clubs. I suppose getting off the ground is probably the hardest bit. What bit of advice would you give to clubs are maybe considering this?
Well, there's lots of advice I give to clubs starting it up, and so would my fellow organisers as well. I suppose the best bit of advice I'd give is come along and watch us and see how it runs. But the biggest bit of advice I give is that initially when we were starting up, we wanted to know what we needed to do, and I would say that it is very straightforward. This is like any other training session with any other players, be it from under 6 up to senior. All you need to do is be organised and wait for the players to arrive, have fun and play football.
I suppose finally, Danny, I suppose the coach has to start the training session. We've got an awful lot of kids behind us rearing and ready to go. There's a great lot of fun involved in this as well, isn't there?
Huge amount of fun. We've started of late now to concentrate on a lot of football skills, as a couple of our players will be playing with the under 8s and the under 9s as well, and they've tried out with those teams over the last couple of weeks with great success. But besides that, then, as you can see behind us here, we have set up for games, and behind yourself there, Rob the Nest and sharks and fishes and all sorts of fun. And we'd have had evenings that we've had bubbles, we've had parachutes, all sorts of things, and it's full of colour, full of sound, and full of fun. Yeah, absolutely, it's brilliant.
We better not hold you up anymore because they're mad anxious to get going. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Donald.
Road, it's a very special evening here. It's an initiative, of course, here in Milltown Castlemaine, but it could be in any club once they wanted to do it.
That's it, and clubs have contacted me now looking to get started, and how Kerry Recreation and Sports Partnership would help would be that we offer support in terms of training and education, some guidance around what to do with the likes of Croke Park and Kerry GA as well, and maybe offer some equipment to get them started. So some clubs are coming here to Milltown Castlemaine to visit and see how it's been happening, and they'll replicate that then back in their own clubs. So if you're interested, get in touch with Kerry Recreation and Sports Partnership, and we'd be delighted to help you start that journey.
And I suppose it must be a great win too for yourself, Garo, to see it going from paper to planning to actually on the field. We have over 20 participants, we have parents everywhere. I mean, if you didn't know any more or any less, I mean, it's a very inclusive, active programme, which is something that could easily be rolled out.
Exactly, and that was the goal. Even the likes of the volunteers getting involved, when they contact me again, you can see they're lit up, they're delighted, and that's what it's about. It's just part of Milltown Castlemaine GA Club now and what they do, so it's a staple in their weekly programme. So we have kids here progressing from this programme over to the under 8s, and that's what it's about. So they're playing at a level that they want to, and they're happy playing GA.
There is it's great to be back here on this pitch. Actually, I played a game here with Finoog back in about 1985, so it's a long time ago, but it's great to be back here, and I'm delighted to see the pitch being used now for children with additional needs. And I would like just to acknowledge the work of Danny McClure and his committee for what they're doing here, which is really very important. Young kids with additional needs, they want to be part of Kerry football, the same as everybody else, and they have great pride in that Kerry jersey, and it's great to see them wearing it. And also, of course, there's the whole physical fitness aspect to it as well, and the mental fitness aspect to it. So what's being done here, supported by the Kerry Sports Partnership with a local committee, is really, I suppose, something that could be replicated all over our county of Kerry. So I really would like to compliment them on this initiative. It's very, very important.
And of course, anybody that would arrive in here this evening, I mean, at the end of the day, it's cones, it's football, it's fun, it's everything that's really involved in the J world being rolled out to people that might have been deprived of somewhere down maybe in the past.
Well, from my own background, I was a PE teacher, and I worked voluntary during some of my time in the Nanonegus school in Lixna, and then afterwards in the Stole. Actually, I encouraged the Department of Education to, I suppose, put the Nanonegus school adjacent to the primary school in Listowel. So children with additional needs could work with the kids in a primary school and work together, and that has been very successful. So what's going on here is really very, very important from the point of view of just that development, the skills they're doing, and they develop skills as good as any other child that don't need this type of training. And also the coaches here have all connections themselves with, I suppose, teaching children with additional needs. So they're all very, very, I suppose, trained and professional in their approach with the kids and with the children, which is very important as well.
A safe environment is very important, you know, especially with children when you bring them indoors. Jimmy, this is an initiative that's been helped and rolled out by the Kerry Sports Partnership. It's one of many initiatives that you're rolling out, and I suppose maybe sometimes people don't or aren't too mighty aware of that candle in the wind that it blows out at times. But what goes on in the world of the Kerry Sports Partnership?
Well, it's all about inclusion, and it's all about children with additional needs, the elderly, people from maybe different nationalities, and so it's about a broad range of activities for individuals that probably wouldn't be involved in mainstream sport. For example, they wouldn't be playing Gaelic football or soccer or rugby, basketball within the county, or golf or whatever. So we're really focusing on all those groups that don't feel really included, or that in the past maybe were not, I suppose, looked after. Like, for example, we have a Swim for All program that has been hugely successful. And I know one individual now with additional needs that went through that program, and I happened to be swimming with that young person in Ballybunion one day where there were kind of big waves there, and he was far more adventurous in the sea than I was. So it goes back to the training he got in the swimming pool in Ballybunion because of the Swim for All program. So what Kerry Sports Partnership is doing here with Milltown Castlemaine is invaluable, and as I said, it can be replicated in all parts of our county, and certainly as chairperson of the Kerry Sports Partnership, I would be encouraging Tim Murphy, who's chairman of Kerry County Council and who's very supportive of this type of initiative, but I will be again advising Tim and encouraging him to promote this.
Who's that?
Is that William?
William,
good man.
Go and play sharks and fishes.
Will you show me how to play sharks and fishes?
Let's go.
That was William, and of course the help from Alex at the start. A fantastic initiative being run by Milltown Castlemaine, and speaking to us there was Jimmy Deanhan, chairperson of the Kerry Recreation Sports Partnership. Of course, people remember Jimmy, of course, being 1981 All-Ireland winning captain, and he was quite happy to do a few laps of the field as well in Milltown on Monday night. Also there in the report was Garrod O'Doherty, and he's the head coordinator of the Kerry Recreation Sports Partnership, and I suppose sometimes he acts as the captain of Tralee Parnells, and he was in action, of course, in the Intermediate Championship in the last couple of days as well with a fine win. And of course at the start was Danny McClure. He is the chairperson of the Gaelic or the GA for All within the club, and certainly it is an initiative that can be run in an awful lot of clubs, and if you need any help at all, you can pick up the phone and contact the Kerry Recreational Sports Partnership. So that is what we have for you this evening. Again, shorter than usual. If you are hurling, you got your full value for it, and we want to wish all the teams the very best of luck at the weekend in the quarterfinals for the Hurling Championship. So from us tonight and the Waterbreak, good night.